Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gypsy Poet Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/Gypsy Poet. I am the Gypsy Poet, and with me is the relentless and spirited and rebellious and explosive wing gal, Girl George. Girl George, say it with me, Girl George, Girl George, Girl George! Oh, my God. So she got us this really amazing guest this afternoon by the name of Barbara Bidrowski, who absolutely puts on a fabulous show called The What?
Baba's Jam.
Yeah, of course, the Baba's Jam over at the Soundcheck in Hollywood. And here we have Girl George. Girl George.
Hi, Baba. Happy Mother's Day, my dear.
Yes,
well, happy Mother's Day to you guys.
Yeah, Baba was like the mother of all us wayward musicians in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I think some of them even slept on her floor. She probably fed a few of them, and she gave us a place to play. So having you on Mother's Day is just perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely perfect.
How long did you do the thing at the sound check? When did you start? What year was that?
Oh, let's see. Started the sound check in 1985. Before that, I had Baba's Place on Bronson and Franklin, and that's where I started my original jam night. But I left shortly thereafter and moved back to Florida, only to be brought back to Hollywood by the powers that be, and that's when I opened up They insisted I do the jam night at the sound check, which I was glad they made me do it because we sure had. That was Leon McNabb that owned that, and he brought me back from Florida, me and the girls, and said, "We want you to do your jam night." So it was a lot of fun, and I was glad that I listened to him.
How long were you at the sound check itself?
2.5 years before it went away.
Well, I was there every week, and I ran into Peter Case there, which I didn't know at the time. He knew me. He came up, he says, "You know me?" I says, "Nope." He says, "I used to play out on the street at the Coffee Gallery because I was too young to go in when you ran the club, and I used to play out in the street playing guitar." So since then, I found out who he is and found out he's very, very famous. But, at the time, I didn't know who he was. I used to see that guy from... those punk bands used to hang out there.
Back in the day, it was quite the underground scene. So, everybody, even Guns N' Roses, when they first came into town, they'd wait outside the back because they weren't old enough to get in the bar.
Oh, my God.
They'd wait out until we'd let them in, play their songs, and then kick them out, But they were real sweet and just beginning back then. So we had everybody.
That's awesome.
Just one of the first times I did Everybody's Crazy But Me was at the sound check. That was like in about 1985. And somebody came up to me afterwards and says, "Is that a new Dylan song?" And that was the biggest compliment I ever had in my life.
Oh, God, I love that song. I remember you doing that, and your outfit, holy moly, crushed velvet cape with a sword. I'm like, oh, my God, this woman's too much.
That's actually the picture that got my attention, and it was, totally enchanting to me. I was like, wow, this really is an awesome picture. Wow.
Are you kidding? She walked around like that.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. It's like everything I've seen this woman post and do, and, she has some great stuff. This one's pure color, okay? To me, she just rocks, okay? Like I said, she's explosive. Exactly. She's just so full of it. She's just out there. It's just crazy. But I want to ask, you brought up Guns N' Roses, actually, and that kind of rung a bell in my head because that's a band one of the bands I grew up listening to, and I wanted to know a little bit more detail if you got any more about what they did during that time.
This was the sound check in the 80s, and we had about 10,000 million musicians coming through. The only reason I even remembered them because I didn't know who they were, but the place was so packed that even bands that I managed couldn't get in sometimes. That song, "No Room in Hell," I wanted you to play, it was about the sound check. One of the Denver Mexicans came down and wanted to come in. They wouldn't let him in because they said it was too crowded. And he's like, damn, I can't even get in there. Wow. But Guns N' Roses was, they were kids at the time. They just came down from Seattle. Mm-hmm. And I remember making a run, and I saw these kids all in line, boom, 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 out in the back, and what Damien or whatever his name was had the little hat that he always wore, and as opposed. But they were young, and they weren't tainted, and they were excited, and they had that look in their eye, I'm going to be a star, and they're all waiting very patiently outside, and I'm like, what's with those kids outside? Well, they're not old enough to be in the bar, but they want to play. I'm like, well, get them in here. So he threw them up. Let them
Baba,
play.
you're one of the true heroes of the music business, the people that take care of us wayward musicians and give us a place to play. Those are the real heroes of the music business, because most of the musicians are just crazy artists wandering around saying, look at me!
Well, I am fortunate enough. I had quite an eye for talent. And I was fortunate enough to be blessed with music in my life since I was a small child. Mm-hmm. So, I was lucky enough to surround myself with very talented people. Even there are some people that would come to, as you remember, George, it was pretty packed there on Sunday nights at the sound check. And Gaslight. We also did the gas lamp later on. But the thing of it was all the music was good. I remember people, I don't know when it was, but this guy walks in, and this was way before rap ever started. I don't know if you were there that night, but this kid walks in from New York, and, asks, can I do a thing? I've got something. I go, sure, get up there. So he gets up there, and he starts doing this rap thing. Before you know it, everybody's like, and I'm closing the bar that night going, okay, everybody go to the 7-Eleven, and everybody's kind of rapping and marching out the door, and that was the first time we'd ever heard it.
That's amazing.
Oh, it was.
That's the great thing about running open mics. Every once in a while, you have somebody walk in the door, and they go up on the stage, and they just knock you down.
Ain't that the truth? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We had quite a few things, and then it was like also too is the musicians could be the greatest musicians in the world, but if you're a jerk, you're out of there. I don't want any part of you. I remember the time. I can't remember what band it was, but it was one of the punk bands. And then I don't know if you remember a band called Black Flag.
That's the one I was trying to think of. I used to see him in the pool room all the time. The guy that was a singer in the Black Flag. That's what I was trying to think of.
Well, the drummer, his brother would always come in, and his brother was so precious and so... I just loved this kid, and he was super, it was obvious he was gay, and it's like, that's okay. Who cares? But at the punk guys, he came out of the bathroom once, and he was bloody, and he was a mess, and I'm like, what the heck? And then the guy from the punk band had gone in there and beat the crap out of him. Well, I beat the crap out of him with a pool stick. And I'm like, hey, I don't care. This is about music. I don't care, what your philosophy is, what your religion, what your color. I don't care anything about it. And anybody that does has no business in the sound check. And I was livid. He's such a precious child. And he would always sing, Major Tom to Ground Control. Do you remember that song?
Oh, I love that song.
And his brother from Black Flag would play the guitar, and they'd do it acoustically. And he was just as precious as could be. Really did not deserve that kind of treatment, But, I get kind of passionate about people.
What are you doing now? Are you still promoting shows and stuff?
Well, gosh, I have a talent agency called Swell Music Talent Agent, which I book bands. Now, we left L.A., we bought a home down by the ocean back in 93 or 94. We decided we were going to buy a house, and that's Steve and I. And we just kept going south because I wanted to live by the beach. We kept going south until we found a house that was by the beach, and it happened to be oceanside.
Oh, I've lived there.
Yeah.
It's pretty there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And then as time went on, you know how it is, you kind of gravitate towards your own, and we started hooking up with some of the local musicians, and some of them are pretty darn incredible. There's this girl bass. Anyway, so I did my jam night here for about 3 years, and I still book bands, and I'm all grown up, and I'm the director of performing arts for the Oceanside Cultural Art Foundation. Isn't that impressive? It's just so impressive. Basically, I book the bands for the shows and stuff, and I try to get my bands, as many gigs as possible, and we have fun, and like I said, we've made a lot of friends. Of course, everybody wants to play with Steve because he's the best drummer since God knows when. I mean, he's played with everybody,
So how long have you been married?
Well, we've been together since 1985, and we got married in 2001 because it took me that long to learn how to spell his name.
After you had 5 kids, huh?
Yeah. He's like, we better get married because we're not getting any younger, and if anything happens to us, how are we going to see each other in the hospital?
How many kids you got?
2.
Are they by Steve?
Well, actually, I made them myself, but Steve helped raise them.
I made mine by myself too.
Yeah, sometimes it's better. You can't have too many cooks in there.
Yeah.
But they are
immaculate conception. You know how that is.
Of course. But Steve's been a real good father to them, and he gave them both away at their weddings. We just had the youngest get married. I'm real proud of both of our girls because, oh Lord, they grew up in the middle of that craziness. My daughter still got a scar on her head from when Cold September threw the drumstick at Raji's out into the audience, and it hit her right between the eyes. And they had a rough upbringing.
Yeah, my daughter was at the punk parties of the Mabuhay, and then at the loft parties in L.A., and at the Levins out at Griffith Park, and she doesn't do drugs, she don't smoke, she don't drink.
Yeah, neither one.
She's seen it all, and she don't want no part of it.
Isn't that funny? Neither one of my daughters drinks. Well, that's not true because one of my daughter has a TV show called Wino TV, and she's a sommelier. She's an expert on wine. Matter of fact, they call her from all over the world to go check out their wine things, and it's a little over my head, but if you ever get a chance to check it out, it's called Wino TV, and she interviews people. Well, she's so popular in the wine industry that the Mondavis insisted she have a wedding at their Charles Krug winery, and boy, that was 3 days of too much fun.
How old are your daughters?
Well, they're older than I am.
Oh.
I'm the only mom I know that's kids are older than her.
My daughter is 36 now, and I've got 2 grandkids that are 6. Well, he's almost 7. In August, he'll be 7, and the girl will be 4.
Oh,
so I've got grandkids in there. I live with them. I live downstairs and take care of the kids when they go to work. So we're still together.
Yeah. Well, my kids have been working on their careers most of their lives, and like I said, they just got married. So now we're all going, okay, where's the grandkids? Where's the grandkids?
That's what I did. Okay, come on.
Exactly.
Where's the grandkids? You're 30. That's enough. More grandkids. We're out of here.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, one of them is 40 and the other's 36, and so they're. I do have rented grandkids. So my next door neighbor is like a daughter to me. So she lets me use her kids when I need grandkids.
You got any nieces and nephews that you borrow?
Nah, there's my family is. I was raised in the military, and we have a very big family, but it's very spread out all over the country. So, unless it's a wedding or a funeral, we really don't get to see each other that much anymore. I mean, I've got.
So you're another military brat. What was your father in?
Navy.
Navy for how long? What was you?
Well, how about this? 3 wars and 6 silver medals.
So is he a general or something like that?
No, he wasn't. Matter of fact, when he was in the Navy,
private or?
No. He was a Chief E9 when he retired. Chief E9, correct. So the thing of it is that he went to World War II.
Wow.
And then he went to Korea, and then he went to Vietnam 6 times. And after his 6th time in Vietnam, he said, "That's enough."
Yeah, that's enough.
He was Navy, so they were out on ships and stuff. But he was on the Hornet during World War II when they sunk it. He's got quite a few medals. that when he passed away, it was quite impressive because we had the 6 great grandkids. Each of them had a medal and put it on the coffin. So that was pretty impressive, I thought.
Is your mom still alive?
No, she passed away before my dad. I don't know if you ever got to meet my mom and dad, but
no.
they were amazing people. A lot of people from the sound check remember mom and dad because they'd stop by every once in a while. And like
so
when
they lived in L.A. or Hollywood?
No, they lived in let's see, they were in Florida, and then when my grandmother died, then they moved to Coos Bay, Oregon, and they stayed.
I know where that's at. My sister was living there for a while.
Love Coos Bay, Oregon. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful place.
So you just moved around all your life, huh?
All my life, yeah. But you know, when I came to Oceanside, I knew I was at home finally.
well, that's where the Navy is.
Hollywood was actually the first place that accepted me.
It's the Marines there. Camp Pendleton's Marines.
That's Marines, and they don't get along real well with the Navy.
They used to fight all the time.
So we don't talk too much about that, you know.
Okay, I wanted to ask, what started Baba's Jam? Now, this has really been a question I've been wanting to ask. This is a big one for me. What started this phenomenon? And I can tell because there are pictures everywhere. There is just a full gallery thanks to Girl George on her Facebook pages. I want to know what started this.
Well, actually, there was a guy. Oh God, no, my mind. He was with a band called the Gun Club. I think his name was Jeffrey. I can't remember. But he and Deborah, I was the first woman to ever tend bar at the Frolic Room. And him and Deborah Harry used to come in the Frolic Room, and then he told me, because all the musicians came there, so all the musicians were my friends, and he said, Baba, you should really start, you should start a music thing where you can book bands and stuff. So the gentleman that owned the bar that I worked at also had a bar out on Bronson and Franklin called the Stallions. And he said, well, if you want to do it, go ahead and do it, So by day it was a gay country and western bar, and at night it was a punk rock bar.
Gotcha.
So we had the changing of the guards, but so then we started our jam night. Well, actually, before the jam night, I started booking bands, and one of the first bands I booked was Thelonious Monster. And that was hysterical because I had no clue of how to run shows. At the time, I was pretty naive, but I had a lot of musician friends and a lot of backing from the record companies and stuff like that because I knew everybody. Basically, it's all nepotism, isn't it? And so I don't know. George, do you remember Thelonious Monster?
Who do I remember? Who?
Thelonious Monster.
I hate those motherfuckers. Those are the ones that killed Al's Bar No Talent Night. Al's Bar No Talent Night was going great. It was packed every night. It had been going for years, and they threw cups at each other. And then Thelonious Monk talked asshole Mark into giving them Thursday night. This was going to be their night instead of No Talent Night. No Talent Night got moved on to Sunday. I said, fuck you, I'm not going to do it on Sunday. And I went over to Cantor's and played at the Kibitz Room for years and quit playing at Al's Bar. And Al's Bar No Talent Night went down the toilet.
Well, of course.
And that asshole lasted about 2 weeks on Thursday night, and he went down the toilet. And Al's Bar went down the toilet with No Talent Night because No Talent Night was all that really happened to Al's Bar. That's where all the energy was, and the insanity was in No Talent Night. And when I wasn't there and it was on Sunday, it died.
Well, what happened to me?
So I don't like Tedious Munch very much. I've never seen him play, but he's the one that killed Al's Bar.
But what happened to me, and it was Thelonious Monster.
Whatever they were.
Okay, but what was so funny is I didn't know about, and they were one of the first bands I booked. Well, I also had booked this girl out of Texas who, by the way, turned me on to the Models, who later became Human Drama, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. But nevertheless, she was to play that night, and then they were to play. This was my opening night. There was people from RCA. There was people from Capitol. There was people from all the record, companies there, and it was like quite a big deal. Well, she kept messing around, couldn't get her sound together, couldn't get it up, couldn't get on the stage, and it was just going on, and I'm like, oh my God. And pretty soon, Thelonious Monster was so pissed off, they went over to the laundromat next door and set up and started playing at the laundromat.
Oh my God.
I'm like, no, come back. And so anyway, I'm like, okay, to the girl, you're going to have to go on later. And I put them, and they were in 2 seconds. They were up on the stage and playing. But it was pretty funny. And I remember he flashed me. Oh, my God, he had a skirt on and nothing under the skirt. All these big record execs are here, and this guy's flashing me. Oh, it was hysterical. But that's how my career got started.
Pygmy Circus or...
Oh, Pygmy Love Circus.
Yeah, their bass player, I think he was a bass player, he was like 6'5", and he wore a skirt all the time. He wore a kilt.
Yeah.
So on him it was very sexy.
I remember that band. Oh, there were so many good bands and so many fun people, and it was really good times. The music was good because we were fighting pay to play. That was what was going on. What happened?
Oh yeah, all up and down the strip. You had to pay them in order to play. They gave you a bunch of tickets, and you had to sell those fucking tickets in order to get the gig. Fuck
right. Well, this one particular band. This is what really got me going with the jam night and doing whatever I could with the bands. He was just they were just musicians. They were poor, broke musicians. All they had was their damn equipment, And they played at I think it was the Whiskey, and afterwards the Whiskey confiscated all of their band equipment and said you didn't have enough people in here. I was livid. Oh my God, I went absolutely crazy, and a big hoopaloo started, and everything started going on, and that's when we started the big rebellion against pay to play. I didn't even realize that was going on because in my day, wow, the big thing for people anywhere was, oh, man, to be able to play the Whiskey, that was just the ultimate,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me and my daughter used to go hand out flyers up and down Sunset Strip, and we'd see Guns N' Roses out there handing out flyers to try to get people to come to their gigs.
Exactly. It was pretty sad. So I never, even though I couldn't pay the band much, I fed the bands and I gave them as much money as the club would allow, and that's about all I could do. But
you used to sing and play too? What do you play?
I play trumpet.
Trumpet, and you sing too, right?
Yeah. It's I don't sing as well as so I'd rather listen to. But I'm doing a lot of theater now, so I have to do a lot of musicals, in which we do a lot of ensemble singing, which works for me. I get a little nervous if I'm singing by myself, unless it's some crazy song that I'm super passionate about, and then I don't even think about it, I just belt it out.
What sign are you? What's
Aquarius.
your birthday? Huh?
February. I'm Aquarius.
Aquarius, that's what my sister was. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but you remember Pleasant and Iris and all them?
Yeah. Do you remember Billy Katz? He used to play with me.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
He ended up doing the music for Juno. Remember that movie Juno about the little girl who gets pregnant?
Oh, no, I didn't get to see that one.
It was a big movie. Well, anyway, it was a hit movie. He did the music for this.
Oh, wow, good
so
for
I think he's doing a lot of movies.
Well, do you remember Rock Vodka from Tex and the Horseheads? That was another band I used to manage. Well, he and his brother, I ran into him down here. He showed up at one of my jam nights. What a trip that was. And it was pretty cool. Him and Steve started a band called the Lounge Butchers. They started playing together and doing kind of jazz thing. But he wrote the song, the music for that cartoon Rango. And it was so cute, and that him and his brother wrote that. So that was pretty exciting all these years later to be able to, it's like, we just finished the movie Rango, I think it was called Rango, something.
Rango. Do you remember Harlan? Harlan came up to me in Oakland and said, "Oh, I used to burn the biggest open mic in Hollywood." I said, I thought he was trying to say he ran Al's Bar. Right. I go, "Oh yeah, which one was that?" And he says, "It was." The sound check. I said, "No, you didn't. Bob, I ran that." "No, I ran that." And we fought for years. We still fight. Every time I see him, I said, "Bob, I ran it." "No, I ran it." So tell me about Harlan.
Well, Harlan, as a matter of fact, that's funny you should bring him up because Harlan like I said, I'm the music director of performing arts for the Days of Art, which is a two-day show of art and music, entertainment, art, everything. And his band came down and played for that. So that's the first time I'd seen him in, 30 years. But he would come, okay. When I first started doing jam night, it got so popular that then I started running bands on Wednesday so that bands could play and make a little bit of money and they could have a gig and nobody would be charged to come in and see them and all that, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the bands that, because they were called the Holcomb Boys, and it was Bob Ricketts, the most incredible guitar player and wonderful, wonderful man. I think I sent you a picture of him and I. But he had this band called the Holcomb Boys, and Harlan was in it. So they would play every Wednesday night, and which was fine in the beginning, but it got to be there were so many bands, and I was booked out like a year in advance. One year on my birthday, Bob Ricketts.
But he never ran the open mic, right?
Oh, God.
That's what I'm getting to the point, because he's been fighting with me for years. He plays with me. He comes in the open mic, he backs me up, and he argues with me about this point that he ran the Baba's open mic at the sound check.
No, he didn't run anything. He ran in and play and run out. But no, he wasn't. He was in the Holcomb Boys, and they played every Wednesday. They didn't really play on jam night. They played every Wednesday. They started
because he didn't remember me. I says, well, if you were there, you'd remember me. You don't forget me. I wore a fucking sword. You don't forget me. You would have known me. You would have hated me, but you would have known me.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to get that down on record because next time I see him, he's going to fight with me again and say, "Oh, I ran the open mic as a sound check."
Well, here it is. Here it is, live on the radio for sure. No, he didn't run the sound check.
Yeah. Yes, Baba ran the sound check, and at the Gaslight later on, and sometime in between. What was it? The Stardust Ballroom.
Ballroom. Oh my God, that was
huge.
That was huge.
That was a big place.
It was really, really big. And we did remember the Water Buffaloes? They were all the rage. All the musicians were members of the Water Buffaloes, and they would do a beauty contest every year, something like that. And my 13-year-old daughter, she was up for it. And it was like we didn't realize how raunchy these guys were. Yeah. Me and Charlie Sexton, we were the, what do you call those things? We were the judges. And so when it came to my daughter, I'm like, no, I don't want her to win. No, I don't want her to win because, God, who wants to be the queen of all these water buffaloes? And she's 13, for God's sake. So he goes, well, can we just vote for her for Miss Congeniality? So they made a new thing where we had a Miss Congeniality. That was pretty funny. I think Tequila Mockingbird won that year.
Tequila Mockingbird's still in Hollywood, isn't she? She's doing some kind of punk museum or something, isn't she?
I would imagine because
I see it on the web all the time.
Yeah, I would imagine. I haven't been in contact with her for years, but I believe that whatever she's doing it really well. I'm sure. She was
How about
very
Carlos
good.
Guitarlos? You remember him?
Oh gosh, yes, I sent you
Rhythm
pictures
Pig?
of him. I sent you pictures of Carlos Guitarlos. Well, let's see. Anything to plug? Well, Steve is my husband, and we do a band called
Steve what?
Steve Bidrowski, Hot Rod Steve Bidrowski. He played with Natalie Cole. He played with the Hollywood Hillbillies, the Denver Mexicans, the Dioras. He plays with Mike Palm from Agent Orange. They have a surf band called the Dioras. He's constantly playing, but we do a jazz thing called the Lounge Butchers, and when we have gigs coming up, I could put it up on the on the net. But there's always some gig. We're always into music. If anybody needs any talent, be sure to contact Swell Music Talent Agency.
Okay. Oh, my goodness. You know it. So if you got any links, everybody check out Facebook and look at Barbara Bidrowski, awesome woman who ran Baba's Jam at the Sound Check in Hollywood. Awesome shows. Oh, and what a great story. All of it, all these great stories. These are highlights from these beautiful moments. Oh, my goodness. And
this was the 1980s, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned what year. This is like pretty much the 80s, right?
Yes. It pretty much
I was in L.A. from 1983 till 1995, then I came back to San Francisco. So most of this stuff is like in the 80s.
Yeah, I was there from 1980 to 1993.
Yeah, that's about times I was there.
Awesome program. Awesome show this afternoon. And Girl George, you always make my afternoon. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy Mother's Day.
And happy Mother's Day to all of you. And thank you, Miss Gypsy Poet, for your time. And thank you for doing this radio show. I bet people, it's wonderful. It's historic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the idea. I mean, honestly, that's the best thing about it. If I get a good story in this half hour of this program, that's what makes my week. And so does Girl George. Yes, Girl George, the rebellious, explosive dynamo, Girl George.
She's amazing.
Tell me about it.
Ciao.
Adios for now.
Ciao, ciao.